Have you ever lived through a stretch where, on the outside, life looks unchanged, yet inside you're quietly standing in a hallway between who you were and who you're becoming? If you felt that shift, pay attention. It's not always sadness. Sometimes it's discomfort that shows up in the middle of a normal day, and your body goes, "Yeah, I'm not coming with you on this anymore." You try to logic your way out of it, but you can't, because the truth isn't arriving as a thought first. It's arriving as a nervous system change. So you start wondering if you're just bored or if you're changing without permission. In Jungian psychology, the unconscious moves before the mind can name it, by changing what you can tolerate, what you reach for when you're tired, and what suddenly feels fake, even if it used to feel fine. So when you hear it's finally your turn to win, don't picture trophies. Picture freedom. Winning is outgrowing the pattern that kept you small, kept you quiet, kept you available to what never fed you. In this video, you'll get 7 signs you've entered that phase. Stay to the end, because sign number 7 can look like, "I'm losing my spark," until you realize it's your power becoming permanent. Let's be honest, the internet has made winning feel exhausting. People hear it and picture hustle culture, constant comparison, loud confidence, and a new identity you have to perform so it counts. Like if nobody sees it, it didn't happen. But Jung's idea points in the opposite direction. He's talking about a kind of inner shift where you stop living from the mask, what he called the persona, and you start living from something deeper and more honest, the self. The part of you that isn't trying to impress anyone because it's too busy trying to become whole. That's why this phase can feel so strange at first, because your life often doesn't change on the outside right away. Your taste changes first, your tolerance changes, the things that used to entertain you start feeling like empty calories, and even if you can't explain it, you can feel the cost of staying the same. If you've been noticing that shift, that's not a problem, it's a signal. Not good like it's easy, good like it's real. And reality is where freedom starts. The first sign, your energy withdraws from what no longer belongs to you. It looks like your body quietly refusing to participate in a life your mind keeps trying to justify. You sit down to do something you've done 100 times, same tabs, same routine, same "I should be grateful," and your chest gets heavy in a way that doesn't match the task. The work isn't harder than usual, but it suddenly feels more expensive, like every minute costs you something deeper than time. Sleep doesn't fix it, rest doesn't clear it, a weekend doesn't reset it, because what's draining you isn't effort, it's misalignment, the quiet violence of forcing yourself to keep performing something the inner life has already outgrown. The body becomes the first witness in the room, and it testifies through heaviness, through resistance, through that strange, "Why can't I do this anymore?" feeling that arrives without drama and without explanation. This is the moment a lot of people turn on themselves. They start throwing labels around: lazy, inconsistent, undisciplined, what is wrong with me? Because that's what makes sense in a culture that thinks you can solve everything with more effort. But the issue usually isn't effort, it's alignment. Jung believed the psyche is always moving toward wholeness, and when you're living too far away from what's true, the unconscious doesn't always send you a bright neon sign. It often sends something more practical, a bodily reaction you can't talk yourself out of, because your body is the part of you that can't fake it forever. Your mouth can say, "I'm fine," for years. Your nervous system eventually says, "No, we're not doing this." Think about how many times you've pushed through something that didn't fit, not because it was meaningful, but because it was familiar. Familiar pain feels safer than unfamiliar freedom. So the body does what it always does when a new chapter is trying to begin. It starts pulling the plug on what's draining you. Lauren had a stable job that looked good on paper. She was competent, dependable, the person everyone trusted when things got messy. And yet every morning, getting in the car came with this low-grade resistance. No panic, no dread, just a quiet heaviness, like grief without a story. Then one day, she stopped at a light, hands on the wheel, and realized she didn't want to turn down the usual road, not because she hated her job, not because anything bad happened, just because something in her, something deeper than logic, knew she didn't belong there anymore. She didn't quit that day. She didn't burn her life down for drama. She just stopped gaslighting herself. She took one small step, signed up for a class she'd been curious about. She paid attention to what made her breathe easier. She noticed what gave her energy back instead of taking it. And over time, her outer life caught up to what her inner life had been trying to say for months. That's what this sign looks like. Not chaos, not a breakdown, a quiet refusal. It's like wearing shoes that used to fit perfectly until one day they don't. You keep forcing them because they're familiar, and you tell yourself the pain is normal, until finally you take them off and realize the pain wasn't proof you were weak, it was proof you grew. So if you've been tired in places you used to push through, don't automatically label it failure. Sometimes tired is wisdom. Sometimes exhaustion is your soul setting a boundary your personality was too polite to set. Quick question, because this is where things get real. What has your body been rejecting lately, even if your mind keeps calling it fine? Drop one honest line in the comments. The second sign is quieter, but it's one of the most reliable because it doesn't come from willpower. It comes from your system changing its mind about what it's willing to live with. Your rhythm shifts in a way you didn't plan, and the weird part is, it feels relieving. Not exciting, not new year, new me. More like the kind of relief you feel when you finally exhale after holding your breath for a long time, and only then realize you were tense all day. You might start going to bed earlier, not because you're suddenly disciplined, but because your brain is done being overstimulated. The late-night scrolling that used to numb you now feels like it charges interest, like you can literally feel the cost the next morning in your mood, your focus, even your body. You might notice you're reaching for silence the way you used to reach for noise, and you don't even have a good explanation for it. You just know that certain environments feel too loud now, certain conversations feel too crowded, and your nervous system wants space the way lungs want air. And it's not just sleep, it's taste, it's cravings, it's what your hands do when you're tired. Sometimes the phone stops being comforting, sometimes drama stops being entertaining, sometimes the busy that used to make you feel important starts feeling like a trap. This is what can be called unconscious restructuring. Jung's point wasn't that the unconscious is only a dark basement full of problems, it's also a source of guidance. When you're approaching a new stage of life, your unconscious begins reorganizing you from the inside so you can actually hold what's coming. It adjusts your rhythms, your habits, your attention, and your tolerance. Because if your outer life is about to shift, your inner life needs to become stable enough to carry it. That's why this can feel so strange. You didn't make a plan. You didn't promise yourself anything. You didn't start a 30-day challenge. Your system just starts choosing differently. A woman we'll call Maya described it perfectly. She used to run on caffeine and chaos, loud music to focus, constant stimulation to feel alive. Then something shifted. She began waking up before her alarm, not energized like a motivational poster, but calm in a way she hadn't felt in years. Coffee stopped feeling like comfort and started feeling like too much. So she found herself reaching for warm tea without thinking about it. Walks gain a gravity, not because she's chasing fitness, but because her nervous system starts craving something older than screens. Breath, horizon, a pace that doesn't lie. At night, she'd dim the lights, turn things down, and sit in the quiet like her body was asking for gentleness. At first, she worried something was wrong. She told herself she must be getting depressed because she wasn't chasing stimulation the way she used to. But over time, she noticed the opposite. She wasn't becoming weaker. She was becoming clearer. And the clarity came with a kind of peace she didn't have to earn through productivity. That's the difference. Most people assume they'll change once life gets better, once the job improves, once the relationship gets easier, once they finally feel ready. But a lot of the time, life starts getting better when your inner rhythm stops being at war with you, when your body stops living like it's bracing for impact, when your attention stops being scattered, when your nervous system finally feels safe enough to come back online. So if lately you've been craving simpler mornings, quieter nights, fewer screens, less noise, less urgency, don't dismiss it as getting boring. It might be your psyche stabilizing you for the next chapter, because the version of you that's about to win doesn't run on chaos, it runs on steadiness. What's one small rhythm shift you've noticed lately? Sleep, cravings, solitude, the way you use your phone, the way you spend your evenings? Say it out loud in the comments. Someone else needs to know they're not crazy for changing like this. Sign number 3 is where things get uncomfortably honest because you start realizing the easy choice isn't actually easy anymore. It's just familiar. And familiarity can feel like safety even when it's slowly costing you your self-respect. This is the phase where the harder option begins to feel strangely clean. Not fun, not glamorous, just clean. You notice it in small moments first. A friend makes a joke at your expense and you don't laugh along to keep things smooth. A co-worker dumps a task on you and your mouth almost says sure, but something in you pauses like your system is finally asking, do you mean that? Someone invites you into the same old drama loop, the same gossip, the same recycled negativity, and instead of jumping in out of habit, you feel this quiet aversion, like your mind has developed taste buds and that flavor doesn't work anymore. And what replaces it isn't anger, it's clarity. You stop saying yes when you mean no, not because you're trying to become that person who has boundaries, but because you're tired of the aftertaste, that sick, sinking feeling you get later when you realize you abandoned yourself again just to keep someone comfortable. The moment you start valuing your inner peace more than being easy to deal with, the whole game changes. Jung talked about the tension of opposites, the part of you that wants safety, approval, and a predictable life, and the part of you that wants growth, truth, and a life that actually fits. Most people live their entire lives trying to silence that second part because it's inconvenient. It asks for change, it asks for risk, it asks for honesty. Your winning phase begins when that part stops whispering and starts leading. A friend, let's call her Tara, spent years being the peacekeeper in her family. She could sense conflict before it even happened, so she learned to swallow her reactions, smooth everything over, laugh when she wanted to cry, and take the blame so nobody else had to feel uncomfortable. On the outside, she looked mature. On the inside, she felt like she was disappearing. Then one day, something small happened. Not a screaming match, not a major betrayal, just a familiar moment where someone crossed a line the way they always did. And Tara said calmly, "No, we're not doing that." No raised voice, no speech. Just a boundary stated like a fact. Afterward, her heart was pounding, not because she'd done something wrong, but because she couldn't believe she'd finally done the thing she'd been avoiding for years. Later, she admitted she was scared of being misunderstood, scared of the backlash, scared of being labeled too sensitive. But she was more scared of what she'd become if she kept going silent. That's the shift when self-respect becomes more important than being liked. when the cost of the easy lie starts to feel heavier than the cost of the hard truth. So here's a question to sit with, not to answer perfectly, just to notice. What's the hard truth being avoided because the easy lie keeps things comfortable? Pay attention to what rises in your body when you hear that. That reaction is usually the direction. Sign number 4 is one of the deepest shifts because it's not about getting over it. It's about something quieter happening inside. The past still exists, but it doesn't own your body the way it used to. The memory is still there. The facts didn't change. The people didn't suddenly become better. What changed is the way your nervous system responds when the past gets tapped. You can think about what happened without getting dragged into that old tunnel where one thought turns into 10, and 10 turns into a full-body state. Tight chest, racing mind, spiraling stories, the same arguments replaying in your head like you're trying to rewrite an ending that already happened. Now, the sadness might still show up because you're human, but it moves through you instead of swallowing you. And that difference is everything, because it means the memory is no longer running your system like a program you can't uninstall. A lot of people think healing means forgetting, like one day you'll wake up and the past will be erased like it never happened. But a more honest definition is this: you can remember without bleeding. That's how you know something real has integrated. You hear a song that used to break you open. You see an old photo. You pass the place where everything changed, and instead of collapsing, there's this strange calm, sometimes even a soft compassion for the version of you back then, because you can finally see what you couldn't see while you were in it. You were trying to survive with tools that were never meant to be permanent. This is what Jung meant by integration, bringing what was unconscious into consciousness, folding it into the whole of who you are, so the wound stops being your identity and becomes a chapter in a much larger story. The pain doesn't get to narrate your entire life anymore. It becomes one paragraph, not the whole book. Rena finds an old voice note from someone who once shattered her, buried in a folder that was never meant to be revisited. 2 years ago, even seeing the name would have hijacked her day. Her hands would have gone cold. Her mind would have started bargaining, replaying, prosecuting, rehearsing speeches to a courtroom that never existed. Now she presses play. The voice is the same. The manipulation is still audible. The self-doubt is still embedded between the words like a poison meant to be swallowed. But her body doesn't swallow it. She listens, and what rises isn't collapse, it's distance, not indifference. Distance, like standing on the shore watching a ship that used to carry her identity sail away without her. She doesn't smile because she won, she smiles because she's no longer owned, because that person can exist in the past without occupying her bloodstream in the present. And here's the part nobody tells you. This kind of healing can feel almost anticlimactic. No fireworks, no big announcement. Just a quiet moment where you realize you can stand in the same memory and still breathe. That's growth. That's what it looks like when the past stops steering the wheel. If you've felt even a little of this lately, if a trigger that used to own you now passes through faster, comment, "I'm healing." Not to perform it, to recognize it. Sign number 5 can feel unfair at first, so this needs to be said carefully. Bigger challenges showing up doesn't automatically mean life is going downhill. Sometimes it means life is finally treating you like someone who can carry more than you used to. And yes, this sign usually arrives without a warning label. It can look like heavier responsibilities, more complicated decisions, a sudden situation that forces you to grow up fast, or a season where the stakes feel higher than before. The old version of you might have looked at this and thought, I can't handle this. The new version still feels the weight, but something is different. You don't collapse the same way. You might still cry. You might still feel overwhelmed. You might have moments where you stare at the ceiling and think, what is happening to my life? But you don't disintegrate. You stay present enough to take the next step. You make the call. You show up. You handle what needs to be handled, even while your emotions are loud. That's the win. Not the absence of emotion, because numbness isn't strength. The win is that you can feel deeply and still stay functional. You can have a shaking voice and still speak. You can have fear in your body and still move forward. A woman named Elena, someone who used to panic over small disruptions, proved this to herself in a way she didn't expect. For years, minor changes would throw her off. A rescheduled plan could ruin her day. A tense text could spiral into hours of anxiety. Then her family hit a real crisis. Medical, logistical, emotionally heavy, the kind of thing that doesn't care what mood you're in. And Elena surprised herself. She didn't magically become fearless. She didn't suddenly love pressure. But she got organized. She started making calls. She wrote things down. She stayed steady for the people around her in a way she had never been able to do before. And when it finally got quiet, when everyone was safe for a moment, she cried hard, not because she failed, because she realized she wasn't that fragile version anymore. And that recognition is a kind of victory the old story never allowed. Here's the truth most people don't want to hear until they're ready. Life doesn't usually hand advanced level tests to beginners. Bigger challenges often show up when your capacity is expanded, even if it doesn't feel flattering in the moment. It's like life is saying, I know this is heavy, and I also know you're not who you used to be. So here's the question to sit with. What's the bigger thing being carried right now, and what does it reveal about who you've become? If it's personal, keep it simple. One sentence in the comments. Jung understood that a person truly meets themselves under pressure because comfort lets the ego rehearse, but adversity forces the deeper self to speak. And Seneca said it in one clean line: fire tests gold, adversity tests strong souls. So when the weight increases, it isn't proof that life is getting cruel. It's proof your inner structure has stopped being fragile. Sign number 6 is subtle, and when it hits, it can feel almost shocking, because comparison doesn't just reduce. It stops working on you like it used to. The same triggers are still out there, the same highlight reels still exist, but something inside has shifted. Your timeline starts feeling like it belongs to you. You see someone else's engagement, promotion, glow-up, new apartment, new friend group, new chapter, and you wait for that stomach drop feeling. The old reaction, the silent math in your head that turns their life into evidence that you're behind. But it doesn't come. Instead, there's neutrality. Sometimes there's even genuine happiness, not the fake, good for them that hides a bruise. Real happiness, because their win doesn't threaten you anymore. That's how you know something deep has changed. Jung would say, comparison has power when a person is living from the persona, the mask that tries to earn love through performance. The persona needs proof, it needs applause. And when you're living from that place, other people's milestones don't just inspire you, they accuse you. Their timeline becomes a weapon your mind uses against you. But when you start living from the self, the deeper center, people stop being your measuring stick. Their success becomes information, not a verdict. Their pace stops being a threat. Their life stops being your mirror. And here's what quietly happens next. The energy that used to leak sideways into comparison comes back to you. It comes back as focus, as calm, as direction, as the ability to take one step in your own life without needing to check where everyone else is standing first. That's why this sign is a win, because once your energy stops feeding the endless ranking system, You stop moving sideways. You start moving forward. This doesn't mean you never notice other people. It means noticing doesn't cost you your peace. It means you can witness someone else's season without turning it into a sentence about your worth. Sign number 7 is the last sign, and it's the one people misunderstand the most because it doesn't feel like a breakthrough. It feels almost too calm. And that calm can be scary because so many people are used to living on emotional spikes. And this is the phase where action no longer depends on motivation. Not because you're suddenly disciplined, not because you found the perfect morning routine, not because you're riding a streak and terrified to break it. You just move. You do the thing, quietly, consistently, even when the day feels ordinary, especially when the day feels ordinary. And at first it can feel boring, like something is missing, because the old pattern was intensity, big bursts of effort, big promises, big emotional speeches followed by a crash. That roller coaster can feel like progress, but it's often just nervous system drama disguised as growth. This sign is different. The consistency is so low-key it almost feels anticlimactic until you realize anticlimactic is exactly what makes it sustainable. You clean your space because chaos feels expensive to your mind now. You stop letting dishes pile up, not to prove anything, but because you like waking up in a room that doesn't silently stress you out. You keep a promise to yourself even when nobody's watching because there's no negotiation happening anymore. You journal, you walk, you follow through, not to become a better person someday, but because the person you're becoming naturally does those things the way breathing happens without needing a pep talk. That's what alignment looks like. Your actions start matching your identity without a fight. Think of it like pushing a boat on dry land. When the environment is wrong, everything feels heavy. You sweat for inches. You assume you're weak because it shouldn't be this hard. Then the boat hits water, and suddenly the same effort moves you forward with almost no resistance. The struggle wasn't proof that you lacked power. It was proof you were trying to move in the wrong terrain. This is what your turn to win looks like on the inside. Life stops running on mood and starts running on alignment. No performance, no hype. Just steady proof that the old version is losing control. Gut check. What's one thing you're doing consistently now that the old you could never maintain? Name it. If you recognized yourself in these signs, here's what I want you to understand with kindness. The old version of you did not fail. That version protected you. It helped you survive. It helped you belong. And maybe it even helped you keep the peace when you didn't have the tools to do anything else. But now it's too small. And Jung would say when you refuse to grow consciously, your psyche will create discomfort until you do. Not to punish you, but to reclaim you. That discomfort you've been feeling might not be a signal that you're broken. It might be the signal that you're ready. Ready to stop living for approval. Ready to stop dragging your past into every room. Ready to stop calling your intuition overthinking. If you want something you can actually do this week, something real, not just good points, here are 3 questions that cut through the fog. Write them down somewhere you'll actually see them. Notes app counts. A journal works even better because it slows the mind down. First, what am I tolerating that my body has already rejected? Pay attention to where you feel tight, heavy, drained, or oddly numb. That's usually the truth showing up early. Second, what's one hard choice that would instantly raise my self-respect? Not the choice that makes you look good, the one that makes you feel clean inside, like you can finally meet your own eyes again. Third, where is my energy leaking? Comparison, people-pleasing, old pain. And what would it look like to bring it back? Not forever, just for today, just for this week. And here's the key, you don't have to rebuild your entire life overnight. You don't need a dramatic reinvention. Start smaller. Just stop abandoning yourself in the little moments. That's how the win begins. quietly, consistently, and for real. If this video hit you, let it land in a simple way. You're not losing your spark. What's disappearing is your tolerance for what isn't true, what used to feel normal but was quietly draining you. And that's what winning looks like in this chapter. Not loud, not perfect, not a performance for people who never really saw you in the first place. It's smaller than that and stronger than that. Living like you belong to yourself again. So if you know someone who's stuck in that weird in-between space where their old life still exists, but it doesn't fit anymore, send them this. Sometimes a mirror is all a person needs to stop blaming themselves for outgrowing what was never meant to last. And if you want more grounded, Jung-inspired psychology that actually translates into real life without the fluff, subscribe. This space is for people who are done performing their healing and ready to live it. Before you go, comment the sign that hit you the hardest, number 1 through number 7, and give one sentence why. The comments get read, and that one sentence might be exactly what someone else needs tonight.